I'm Charles Martinet, and now it's time for Bit.Trip Presents Runner 2, Future Legend of Rhythm-Alien.
Yes, that's the Charles Martinet, the voice of Mario. He sets the scene, delivers the batshit narrative, and adds some gravitas to proceedings. If nothing else, he gives the game a great first impression, and this is one first impression that is in no way misleading.
Fusion beam blindsides these 5 fearless friends. The always imperturbable Commander Video, shielding his elite assemblage of exceptional allies, takes the brunt of the blast and is sucked into an unknown dimension. A land of wondrous imagination, found only at the apex of light and matter. A wavelength of the optical spectrum opened by the maniacal Timbletot to trap and enslave our gallant protagonist.
Bit.Trip Presents Runner 2, Future Legend of Rhythm-Alien is all about running. It's the Forrest Gump of running games, and by that I don't mean it's irredeemably stupid, but instead it's fairer to say that it's unrelenting with its simplistic charm, and likely to prove incredibly popular because of it. Those who played the first game would have a fairly good idea about what's heading their way when they download this little peach of a game, but for those of you not in the know, we thought we'd take the time to show you one of the most enjoyable platformers we've played in a long time. Not since we first got our hands on the original incarnations of Sonic and Mario have we had this much fun with the platform game. Yes, it's that good. There are 5 worlds to play through, though we're not going to tell you about the last one, that's a surprise, but the others are fair game. The first world, the Welcome Wonderland, is set at a high altitude with strange buildings floating in the background, whereas World 2, the Emerald Brine, brings us back down to sea level and has a much more nautical feel to it. Whilst I enjoyed the rustic charms of the super nature, my favourite of the worlds was the Mounting Sads, with its fiery backdrop of craggy mountains and its industrial edge. Each of the main food groups, earth, fire, air and water, is represented, and there's nice variety to the backgrounds that stop it becoming too samey. Not that you're able to stop and admire the view. The environments might change, but the basic premise does not. Commander Video runs relentlessly, even when it's adverse to his health. He just can't stop. He's the Duracell bunny, only on speed and without the pink ears. And as such, he pelts through stage after stage of obstacle-riddled comic fluffiness, dodging anything and everything that comes his way. And lots of stuff comes his way. At first, just avoiding the shit that blocks his path is the name of the game, but it's not long before that's not enough. Your eye starts to wander towards the online leaderboards, the cogs in your brain whirring into the realisation, I could beat that score. Chances are you can't, not unless you stick it on hard, parry every flying block, duck under every ledge, grab every gold bar that adorns your path, and successfully fire yourself out of the giant cannon found at the end of each perfect run. Perhaps the greatest strength of Runner 2 is the fact that it's the game that sets the difficulty of the game, and by that I don't mean anything as painfully obvious as changing the difficulty setting from easy to normal to hard, but rather that by actively seeking out trouble, by making a point of charging towards each challenge, you can accrue more points than if you seek the path of least resistance. Making your character dance like Napoleon Dynamite at every available opportunity is one way of achieving a greater points haul, but there are other ways you can boost your score. Perhaps the best example of this is in the controversial checkpoints that have been inserted into the game. Simply put, they weren't there in the last one, and those folks who fell in love with the first game because of its insane difficulty might not be too happy about their inclusion this time around. But never fear, my masochistic friends. A simple hop over the checkpoint gate renders it useless, and your punishment for failing after that point is a swift return back to the level start. However, if you're chasing the big scores, you'll need to skip these checkpoints. Get the bonus that doing so ensures, and take your chances. He who dares, Rodney, he who dares. We've not touched on the soundtrack yet, and we really should have done by now, so let's rectify that glaring omission right now. Like the other games in the Bit.Trip series, tunage is a central mechanic, it's integral to the experience. Dodging, blocking or leaping over an obstacle adds musical notes to the soundtrack, with tunes increasing in complexity throughout. Each level becomes a tapestry of sound, and each stage has a distinct rhythm to it, and you're the composer. Even the musically unskilled, the tone deaf, and those who've had their taste glands surgically removed will be making sweet, sweet music with the help of Commander Video and his assortment of dotty companions. The aforementioned companions are amongst the things that can be unlocked as you progress through the game. Frankly, these are much more interesting than the costumes you can find, but they all add variety to the mix, and as they say, variety is the spice of life. There's also retro courses that can be unlocked, taking you back to the retro stylings of the original game, and the incredible challenge that it presented. Unless you like the pain that these courses provide, you may well find yourself avoiding them like the plague. I did, but I don't think that's a reflection of my manliness. I'm just more of a comfy person. Even if the game is played on easy peasy for comfy people, there's still a decent challenge in nearly all of the levels. It's just that you won't have to bust the gut to complete them, and finishing with a perfect score isn't out of the realms of possibility. Cranking it up to normal, or just right as the devs call it, increases the frequency in which you'll be yelling foul-mouthed expletives at the screen. Turning the difficulty up to 11 transforms this cutesy platformer into the devil incarnate. In fact, I can't remember a game that has caused as much red-faced fury as this one has. However, unlike some platformers that we'll not mention here, the shouting isn't aimed at Runner 2, but rather at oneself. Each restart is down to human error, and there's nobody to blame except for the person holding the controller. Worth bearing in mind next time you find yourself calling the game a useless
Bit.Trip Presents Runner 2, Future Legend of Rhythm Alien.
The relentless pace, the individual challenge, the high scores, the unlockable treats, the rhythmic soundtrack. Throw all these elements together and you've got a seriously delicious treat. Those wanting a simple and enjoyable platformer will be more than happy with the game, but if high scores, tricky courses and a masochistic challenge is your bag, Runner 2 has got everything you could possibly want, and then some. It's quirky fun, it's devilishly addictive, and whilst I really can't recommend playing the game under the influence of alcohol, played sober, it's well worth the price of admission.